Matt Montegrosso here, creator of Xenoplicity and the queue system it runs on. Today's video, I just want to talk a little bit about some trends that I see happening in the hobby and why I'm against them, why I don't like them, and why we need to be vigilant about these things and know that they're happening and push back on them. Because here's the thing, guys, like if you don't push back on some of these bad trends, there's a chance of them permeating the hobby and really taking it over, okay? The old give an inch and they take a mile kind of thing, okay? First one I want to talk about is safety tools. I can't think of a safer hobby than a tabletop role-playing game. It is a game where you do not touch anyone else. It is a game where you don't do any kind of physical strenuous activity. It is a game where you literally use words and imagination to tell a story with some friends. There's no physical way to get hurt playing a tabletop role-playing game unless you're doing the game wrong, unless you're doing something inappropriate that the game never called for in the first place, okay? You can't say that about basketball. You can't say that about football. You can't say that about golf. You can't say that about poker, right? In physical sports, you can get physically injured by playing the game. In poker, you could lose all your money. There's no harm, there's no negative consequence to sitting in a basement with your friends and playing a game at a table of imagination and fiction and storytelling with words, okay? It's one of the safest things you could possibly do. I would rate it probably one of the 5 safest hobbies in the whole world. Okay, even in video games, you can get carpal tunnel from pushing the buttons too fast. You can't even do that with a tabletop role-playing game at your table, like in real life. Okay, so it is a safe hobby. So this idea that there are some people that want to implement safety tools into the game, what that tells me is they have an ulterior agenda. They're trying to create a problem where one does not exist. Or they may not ever play these games at all, and maybe they're just trying to pretend like they do. Because they clearly are ignorant to what goes on at a real table, okay? If you need safety tools at your table, you are playing the game wrong, okay? It is a game of fiction that is typically played with people that you already know. So you already know what's kind of in and outside norms for the way you should conduct yourself with your speech with the people that you know. And even if you're among strangers playing the game, like let's say you go to a convention, or let's say you go to a local game store and you play in a game there where you do a one-shot with people you don't know before. Typically when you play with people that you're not as familiar with, you tend to be on better behavior than even when you're among your friends, okay? So whether you're playing with people that already know you, and so they're not going to take offense to what you do and how you act, or you're on better behavior because you're playing with people that don't know you, either way, I don't know how offended you could possibly get by playing a game of play, pretend, and make-believe. And I think what happens more times than not, the reason why people are getting so offended is because they fundamentally don't understand the difference between reality and fiction. These are different things. They're not the same. This is a game of fiction, okay? This is the proper outlet to explore dark themes and taboo subjects because it's not real, okay? It's kind of like how many of us when we were younger, we played Grand Theft Auto, right? And so, I mean, did anybody ever just sit around and play that game, and instead of doing the missions, what do you do? Instead of doing the missions, what do? You drive around, you run people over, you get out of your car, you shoot up the street, you jump back in, you try to run from the cops. You're trying to see how many stars you can get before you're killed or arrested, right? That's not real. That's play pretend. It's okay to do that in the video game. It's not okay to do that in real life. But in the video game, that doesn't make you a psycho. It doesn't make you a weirdo. That doesn't make you psychotic or crazy because you did that in a video game. And the same thing's true for a tabletop role-playing game, right? You can explore dark themes. You can be a murderer. You can be a thief. You can do all kinds of crazy, horrible things in a tabletop role-playing game, and nobody should be offended by it because it's not real, okay? There are lots of movies that cover, and TV shows that cover horrible, crazy, awful subjects, right? Very taboo subjects. But that doesn't make the director a pervert. that doesn't make the actors in that movie, guilty of those things that they're pretending to do in the film, right? It's fiction. It's not real. Okay. And people need to get this, because for some weird reason in this weird culture that we live in today, people really, they really struggle with trying to determine reality from fiction, to the point where I've seen people online talk about, a player at their table that did X, Y, or Z. And they were like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that person would have done that. Oh, the cringe. Oh, it was so horrible. It made me feel really unsafe and really uncomfortable. And I never wanted to play with that person again. And we kicked them out of our table. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, it's fiction. It is literally a game of play pretend. Like, what on earth are you talking about? Like, that you feel physically unsafe because of the way someone acted at a table in a game? Not even like in real life at the table, like in the fiction of the game, just from the words that they spoke. Like, people need to grow up, and you need to get thicker skin, and you need to realize that this is not reality. It is just a fictional game. Here's the thing. Words cannot hurt you. They may hurt your feelings if you let them. But there's that old saying, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words cannot hurt you. That's true. And I come from a generation where we were taught that growing up. And yeah, sure. Yeah, people can say things that hurt your feelings, and you can get your feelings hurt by what someone says, especially if it's someone you care about and what they think of you. But at the end of the day, it's just a feeling. It's not an actual bruise. It's not a cut. It's not a real injury, okay? And you need to be able to fundamentally understand that this is a game of play pretend, so anything that happens in the game has not affected you in the real world whatsoever. And so, like, the pushback that people get to this is they say, well, what if a person had serious trauma with dogs? What if they've been bitten by a dog? You can't have dogs attack them in the game because you'd be bringing up their trauma. Okay, I have been bit on multiple occasions by ravaged, vicious dogs, okay? I used to live in Houston, Texas. They have wild packs of dogs that roam the streets. I'm not even joking about that. And I've been bitten several times, big and small, usually the small ones that bite. Those little ankle biters, those are the ones you got to really be worried about. But here's the thing. I have played in multiple games where I have been attacked by wolves, dire wolves, bears, all kinds of hellhounds, whatever. Never once did I have some kind of trauma at the table because it was bringing back real world memories. No, because I'm mature enough to know reality from fiction. And I understand that one has nothing to do with the other, okay? And so you need to have that kind of maturity if you're going to play these kind of games. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are just very immature these days for whatever reason. Another thing about this is there's a deeper subject that really bothers me. I don't like censorship. I hate it, okay? I didn't like it back when this whole satanic panic happened. And people tried to look down on me because I played games like D&D or the Fantasy Trip or Vampire the Masquerade. I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. I don't like that it's coming from the other side of the aisle now, where thoughts are trying to be policed and words are being policed, and censorship is running rampant online and in games. There are lots of companies right now that are going through and editing their books and changing language in their books. And I got no patience for this nonsense. I hate this because at the end of the day, what we do, this hobby, it's a game of words, okay? And so when you start trying to censor words, when you start trying to do thought police, all you're doing is hurting the hobby. You are literally limiting the storytelling freedom that was there previously, okay? You're putting caps on certain story arcs that you should not put caps on. You are labeling certain subjects taboo and off limits when really this game is a perfect avenue for exploring those things. I'll give you a good example. Vampire the Masquerade is a really good example. In Vampire the Masquerade, you are playing a vampire. You are playing a monster that drinks blood to survive. And the game at its core is not about celebrating that, but about fighting against that. But inevitably, the beast kind of always wins because you have to do these things in order to survive, okay? On one of the first pages of the core rulebook, it says this is a game of sex and murder. And the reason why it says that is because it's going to explore dark themes. you are sexually assaulting someone every night of that game. Okay, because you have to feed from them, and you feed from them by either mugging them and taking their blood by force, by biting them, which is very violent. Okay, that's just straight up an attack, an assault, and possibly a murder. Okay, if you don't stop in time, if you drink them too much, you kill them, or you're doing it in a romantic way where you're seducing this person, and then you bite them and you drink from them in a sexual manner. Okay, and so even if you're doing that from someone that is okay with being kissed, you're not just kissing them, you're biting them, okay? You're drinking their blood, you're stealing their life force. So it's sexual assault and murder is what all the player characters are doing every single night that you play that game, okay? It's not wrong, it's not taboo, because it's just a game, okay? But you play that game and you watch your players, whether they do it collectively or each individually at the table, they're plotting out how it is they're going to sexually assault somebody, or how they're going to murder somebody, and how they're going to cover it up, okay? And you watch them do these things and you're having fun because it's just a game, okay? And so it blows my mind that in this weird topsy-turvy world we live in today, that there are people trying to institute safety tools at the table during the games like this, as if you're going to come to a game where that's the expectation, and then you want to claim you can be offended by subjects like sex and murder and violence. It really boggles the mind. It really does. It shows this weird disconnect between, reality and fiction that is just super unhealthy. And if you can't tell the difference, don't play games like this. Don't play D&D. Don't play Shadowrun. Don't play Vampire. Don't play any tabletop role-playing games, because inevitably it is a storytelling game of fiction, and you need to understand that what happens in the game has no impact on reality. It has no impact on your life in the real world, okay? And you need to know that. And there's also another aspect to this too, because there's a big push, and I see it especially with WotC and D&D, where they want to try to strip away all the evil in the world, in the game setting. They want to strip away, bad people doing bad things. They don't want to call evil evil anymore. And here's the problem with that. If you're playing a game that is meant to be heroic fantasy, well, then you can't be a hero unless you've got something villainous to fight against, okay? Having slavery in your game does not mean you endorse slavery in the real world, right? Slavery exists in this setting, in this game, because that's like a real evil in the real world that we can fight against, right? You can try to free the slaves. You can try to kill the slave masters. You can try to right that wrong. But if you just eliminate it out of the game world, well, then now the heroes have nothing to fight against, okay? Pirates, another great example. What do pirates do? They rape, they pillage, they murder, okay? They steal. If you're going to have pirates in your game, that's what they're going to do. And if you lose a fight to pirates, well, then you're probably going to get murdered, or you're going to get raped, or possibly both. And you're going to get your things stolen, okay? That is what pirates do. It doesn't mean you endorse rape or pillaging or murder in the real world to put pirates in your game setting that have to be caught or fought against. You might even play a pirate. You might even play a pirate on the open seas doing those things. And that doesn't make you a rapist or a pervert in the real world. It doesn't make you a murderer in the real world, okay? It's fiction. It's fiction. You explore these topics in a fictional storytelling game, and that's the proper avenue to talk about those things, right? It is not okay to demonize somebody because they play a character that has, different values from what people at the table have in real life, okay? It's just a game. I don't know how many times I have to say that, but in the culture we live in today, for some reason, this is just wildly misunderstood. It really is. And it kind of blows my mind. I don't get it. I really don't get it. But that's the topsy-turvy, weird world we live in, where people take offense to things that don't really happen, and then they really turn a blind eye to all the evils and atrocities that are really out there. And, here's the other thing about that. You could say, well, these are things that are problematic, and so it's best not to talk about them. But here's the thing. In history is problematic. There's been a lot of evils, that have done that. There have been a lot of evils in this world, okay? A lot of atrocities. And it's not healthy to just try to erase history and pretend like none of that happened. That's not healthy. That's not therapeutic. There's nothing good about that. If you want to tackle issues, if you want to really right wrongs, if you really want to get over something, you have to talk about it. You have to get it out in the open. You have to address it. And it's just so weird to me that we live in a culture that wants to try to cover up things rather than expose them, that wants to try to make subjects off limits to talk about rather than just openly and freely talk about them. We've really regressed, unfortunately, and our society has not improved because of it. So the reason I guess why I'm saying all this is because these are things that are really happening in the hobby today. It's not me being an alarmist, right? I've been watching these things play out over the last several years, and they just keep getting worse and worse to the point where now companies like WotC and like Catalyst are going through and renaming things in their digital products. They're reterming things. They're changing definitions, right? Like you see D&D now taking out the word barbarian and savage and madness from their books and from their materials because they're problematic and offensive. Well, I mean, oh my goodness. How long before a game like Call of Cthulhu is banned? Because that's most of the game is going mad, is going insane. Can you imagine edition of Call of Cthulhu where there's no longer derangements and mental conditions noted and listed with the various effects that they can do? What about a game of Call of Cthulhu where there's no insanity? Because we reach a certain point where things just have to totally be erased and stopped because it might magically offend one person somewhere out there in the ether. There's always going to be somebody offended about everything, right? But you don't stop living your life because of that, and you don't stop doing the things you love to do because someone might be offended. If you're going to say, do, or be anything in this world, someone's going to be offended by it. So that is, to me, the sign of a coward, someone that tries to change their product on the sake of not being offensive. Don't bring politics into the game, okay? If you're a game master, the proper place for your personal beliefs, your personal politics, is not in the game session you're running. If you're a player, the table's not the place to bring those things up. If you're a game designer, your game book is not the place to get on your soapbox and talk about these issues. This is a game. It is a game of play, pretend, and make-believe. It is a game of escapism, not representation. You do not need to try to represent and kind of pull from all these cultural issues at your table. Stop doing that. It's a bad habit. It's not nice, okay? People don't go to watch a sports game because they want to be reminded of politics. And unfortunately, we live in this weird world where you can't, any hobby nowadays is just inundated with real world issues, real world politics. You can't get away from it. And it's just mind numbing. Like, it sucks. When I get together with my friends to play a tabletop role playing game, the goal is to not think about the real world. The goal is to put yourself into a pretend world and just focus on that for a little bit. The real world's going to be waiting on you when you get done. It's not to talk about real world issues. It's not to flood your game with real world politics and social issues. Stop trying to make the fictional world into your real world, okay? They're supposed to be different for a reason. We all come to a table to play a game because we're on some level, we want some level of escapism, okay? You want some level of escapism at your table. You want people to just be able to disconnect and have fun with their friends and just have a good time. And a hindrance to that is real world social issues and real world politics. So the game table is not the place for these things. And I see too often nowadays, there are game designers that are putting these things into the game. There's companies that are trying to make political statements. And I have no patience for this, and you shouldn't either. Don't buy products from companies that do this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. At this point, I think I'm just ranting. So maybe I should just stop. Sounds like a good idea. Anyway, guys, that's what I think about these subjects. Let me know what you think in the comments below.